Hi, and welcome back to the third and final day of Midwest E-Commerce Seminar 2020. I'm your host, Brad Goldenberg, the CEO of Blayzer Commerce here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you're just tuning in for the first time, this is the third and final part of a 3-week seminar series covering all things e-commerce. Session recordings for part 1 and 2 are available online along with some excellent resources from our presenters. So be sure to visit MidwestEcommerceSeminar.com and check them out. This free seminar series is brought to you by Blayzer Commerce, BigCommerce, Bright Pearl, TaxJar, Shipper HQ, Square, dotdigital, Trustpilot, and Glew. Stepping up to the virtual plate today will be Julie and Kate from Blayzer Commerce, Claire from dotdigital, Meg from Trustpilot, and Mark from Glew with some great presentations for you about evolving your marketing strategy. First up, we have Julie and Kate from Blayzer Commerce. Julie is our marketing director, and Kate is our director of search and social. They each have a lot of experience and background in digital marketing and online strategy. We learn a lot from them every day around here at Blayzer, and we think you will too. So here we go.
Thanks, Brad, for the excellent intro. Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Cleland, and I'm Blayzer's marketing director.
And I'm Kate Nicolaus, digital marketing strategist. Julie and I work with a lot of different companies and many types of businesses, but some of our favorite projects to work on are ones that involve e-commerce. I know we're not supposed to play favorites, but we just can't help it.
That's right, Kate, and I think that's because there are a lot of particularly special things about e-commerce that create great opportunities for digital marketing. First of all, e-commerce is super measurable. I might have a bit of a word nerd reputation around our office, but I'm also a data geek at heart, like most marketers are. With e-commerce, there's so much data to capture and analyze just within the store and the business itself. Then you have the web solution analytics, and you add in your marketing and customer data too. There's just tons of opportunities. And all of your ROI information is right there in front of you. You don't have to bend over backwards to know what's working and what isn't. And you can actually use all of that data to drive your business forward. I'm really looking forward to hearing more on that from Mark at Glew here in just a bit. The things that they're doing with e-commerce and marketing data are pretty incredible.
The next thing we love so much about e-commerce is the content opportunity. There is a tremendous amount of content opportunity just within your product catalog alone. Your product names and descriptions, your specs and product literature, and support information. All of the pages for the products and categories in your catalog. You should also have all the important narrative information about your business and brand and content to support your sales journey. Then you add in content for marketing, your blogs, and downloadable content. Focus landing pages and everything you need for campaigns like posts and graphics, and ad copy and emails. It can be a lot to create and maintain all the content that powers e-commerce, but content is a challenge for every business out there, and e-commerce has the advantage of much more content opportunity than many other types of business.
The last piece that we find to be so special about e-commerce is the strategy. You have all this data, and you have all this content, and there's so much you can do with everything. But just because you can doesn't necessarily mean that you should. And how you do things is just as important, if not more so, than what you do. So before you start marketing your e-commerce solution, you really need to create a roadmap. That roadmap is your marketing strategy. Your strategy is a place where you can centralize data and document key decisions about your business and brand, your customers, your competitors, and how you go to market. It's a place to evaluate your opportunities across all dimensions of digital marketing within the context of your data and decisions. It'll help you understand how various dimensions of your marketing strategy can fit together so you can plan for stronger integration, greater efficiency, and amplified results. It's a place to estimate and document your potential costs and resource requirements. Marketing costs are going to vary by industry, by product category, target audience, plus any number of external factors. New tools and resources are coming out all the time. It's important to periodically assess your requirements and have something documented to compare to as new opportunities arise. You should also estimate your potential results and how much value different types of marketing could equate to for your business. With all this information laid out in full, it'll be much easier to choose your best opportunities and plan and implement a marketing roadmap that aligns with your goals and your budget.
Now that brings us to the big question. What areas should you explore in your strategy? Digital marketing is a vast landscape with new things popping up all the time. It's kind of like an e-commerce product catalog in that way. And just like your catalog, it helps to break your digital strategy down into a handful of categories. Julie and I are going to talk about content, SEO, search advertising, social media, and email. Let's start with content. We already talked about the wide range of opportunities e-commerce companies have, but when it comes to content, what are you really going to need? Of course, you'll need lots of copywriting, images of your products for your website, and your marketing materials. Words are crucially important to search, and you'll need a lot of them on your site. You won't have to bog down your core pages if you structure out a sitemap that allows for a library of resources, info about your target markets and customers, and a blog to keep adding new material as your site grows over time. It also helps to add some diagrams and infographics that show how you use your products and reinforce the main ideas. If you're keeping up with the times, you should also have some great video and high-quality photography in the mix. Many people would rather watch video than read text, and video opens up a lot of new marketing opportunities in places like YouTube and social media. High-quality photography goes right in hand with video on the leading edge. Things like 3D and AR aren't far off technologies anymore. They're here and they're here for everyone. You just need the right photo and video content to seize the opportunity and to get out there and lead the way.
The goal of your content strategy should be to create all the pieces that you and your buyers need and then deliver it to them in a strategic way that minimizes the amount of external research they feel the need to do. That means content for every stage of the marketing funnel in a variety of formats. If you're stuck on topics or wondering which topics would have the most value to you, how-to and comparison information are extraordinarily powerful and usually pretty deep wells to mine for content ideas. They have broad appeal across the funnel and usually translate well across different formats like copy, images, and video. And they break down really well into bite-sized bits that work well on lower attention and retention channels like social media. E-commerce also has a key advantage in leveraging your customers and community to generate powerful content for your brand. Meg from Trustpilot has an incredibly eye-opening presentation coming up all about user-generated content. And I have to say, I've been around here at Blayzer for a long time. We've been working with Trustpilot for a few years now, and I'm really captivated by how much has developed in the world of UGC, reputation, and ultimately trust since we've gotten to know each other.
All that great e-commerce content adds up to a ton of potential in search engine optimization. We have some tips for you on how to take advantage of SEO in your e-commerce strategy. First, you'll need to modernize your keyword strategy. We see a lot of sites, especially from older, well-established sellers, and for some reason, a lot on the B2B wholesale side, that are using some very outdated keyword strategies, both in the words they use and how they use them. Some of the things, like stuffing a ton of broad and synonymous keywords into product names and descriptions, page content, and SEO meta information, or using tricks like obscuring keyword stuff text on page, can actually be harming your results. Search engines have changed a lot in recent years, and if your keyword targeting and optimization strategy hasn't too, it's time for an update.
Winning at SEO is not about gimmicks and tricks and gaming the system. It's about knowing your audience, following best practices, and keeping up to date with change. Each piece of content you publish on the web should focus on one primary keyword or phrase. It doesn't mean that your page will only attract traffic for one phrase. It just needs one main idea to anchor it. You need to place that primary keyword in a few important areas of your page and content. First, the URL. Your page URLs should be user-friendly and include your focus keyword. Your keyword should also be in your H1 page title. You should use your keyword throughout your page content, including your product description, copy paragraphs, and at least one properly tagged H2 subheading. In your image alt text is another great place to use keywords. Just remember, image alts are also used for accessibility, so don't forget to make sure your image alts not only have your keywords in them, but also accurately and colorfully describe the image. My best tip for that is don't describe the picture itself, describe the moment that was captured, the actions, emotions, and the deeper meaning behind the image. And of course, you should also use your keyword in your SEO meta information, the page title and description that gets submitted to search engines for use in their results listings. There are character limits on these, and they change pretty regularly. Titles right now should be about 50 to 65 characters. Descriptions should be 50 to 165 characters long. If you hit the right length requirement, Google will use the title you provide almost all the time and will use the description you provide about 30%. If you're off on the length, or if Google thinks it can serve the user better, it will truncate titles or append your site name to fill space, or it may pull different content from your page to show in the description area. Once your primary focus keyword is in place across the board, you can color in around it with more content and context. Add related phrases in your copy and additional subheadings, use them in your image alts, and sprinkle a few into your SEO meta. Some of the strongest context that you can add is information about your target customers and words that signal an intent to make a purchase.
These steps themselves are pretty simple. The hardest challenges with SEO are in choosing good keywords, keeping up with algorithms and search result changes, and managing it all at scale. For e-commerce companies with thousands and thousands of products, it can be a lot to control and keep up with. It's very important for these companies to get a strategy in place that makes sure everything on the site gets up correctly at the start and then proper attention on a routine basis. If you're in a position where you're creating a schedule of SEO updates, keep in mind that SEO is a slower moving machine and results are not instant. You have to work ahead. So if you want to work on items that should be hot around the holidays, for example, you'll want to start doing your SEO work on them a good couple months ahead of time, around this time actually. That will give them plenty of time for your updates to get out there and get processed by search engines so your visibility rises in time for the holiday surge.
While we're on the topic of search engines, have you really stopped and looked at a search results page lately? It's so much more than a list of links and a handful of ads these days. All those extra featured snippets that help put quick information front and center in search, like product listings and reviews, video carousels, local map widgets, FAQs, how-tos, tons more. That's all up for grabs. You can win these coveted placements by properly programming your website to provide specific information in specific ways within your data layer. Many e-commerce store solutions have tools for this built right in, or have plugin integrations you can use to make it easy. By structuring your data in the very specific way it needs to be, it'll make your site eligible for placement in those enhanced search features. And with strong keyword optimization within that data, you can win. Structured data is also the basis for how many different types of marketplace feeds work, as we see with Google Shopping and Facebook Marketplace. So if you're selling on marketplaces or looking to do so in the future, you'll need to get into structured data. It's definitely going to be a big part of e-commerce selling and SEO in the foreseeable future.
The next area we'd like to address in your strategy is search engine advertising. Everything we just talked about in SEO was for organic and unpaid rankings. As we mentioned, organic SEO can take time, and time is not always on your side. It is also extremely competitive since you're duking it out for rankings against literally every other site on the web with similar keywords or content. When ranking organically is just too difficult, takes too long, or just doesn't bring enough traffic your way to adequately fuel your fire, paid search marketing can save the day. With paid search, every click comes at a cost, so every click truly counts. It's important to be strategic, or you could find yourself spending too much for too little results. Let's go over some of the big do's and don'ts that we've seen recently. We'll start with the do's. First, you need to do your keyword research and utilize negative keywords. Your organic keywords and paid keyword strategy should work together. Some keywords will be better for organic and some will be better for paid. Research your keyword data and consider things like search volume, how competitive they are in both organic and paid search, and average cost per click. Consider what you want in terms of results. Also, know what you don't want and use your platform's negative keywords to carve out those important exclusions.
The next thing you should absolutely do for e-commerce search engine marketing is write effective copy using keywords and product attributes. The ad copy is what entices the click, so you need to make every word count. Include what they're looking for, the keyword, and what they've found, your product attributes. If you've got all your e-commerce data formatted properly, then you won't have to write everything by hand. You can use your data to fill in details and make things a lot easier, especially at scale. A good SEO specialist will be a wizard at putting things together in a spreadsheet or using SQL Server functions. It's an important skill to look out for, especially for those of you out there with lots of products. Small sites can get away with a little bit more manual work, but you're going to need that next level capability. Also, keep in mind that your copywriting doesn't stop at the ad itself. You also need to optimize the landing page. When you're running an ad on a keyword, the ad needs to point to a landing page with that keyword on it. This is where integrating your organic strategy gets really important because you don't want to blow up your free traffic just to boost an ad rank up a few notches. Wherever you're concerned that paid campaign optimization might interfere with organic SEO, then you might want to utilize a custom landing page for your ad traffic. Keep in mind that for Google Shopping product ads, your landing pages need to be actual product pages with checkout features. This is an important detail for sellers out there who may be working with sites that use custom configurators or other non-standard user experiences. It may take you a little bit of extra preparation to be able to run product ads on Google Shopping, but it's worth figuring out what you need and having a strategy ready.
And our last search engine marketing do is to use ad extensions to build out your ad and to provide as much information as possible. Search and shopping ads have a lot of little extra features that you can append to them, like call-out text, click-to-call phone numbers, location extensions, prices, and a whole lot more. These features are proven to drive click-through rates, and when you review the data, you can learn a lot about what your searchers really want and what they're keen to click on. Ignoring these extensions, underusing them, or forgetting to update them with the latest and greatest information can hold you back from reaching your maximum potential in paid search. So use them and use them actively. Now, on to the don'ts. Let's see what you shouldn't do in search engine marketing. The first thing to watch out for is writing ad and landing page copy that sounds too gimmicky or scammy. In e-commerce, pricing and offers are the bread and butter for a lot of businesses, and they get attention, clicks, and they drive sales. But if you say things wrong or push it a little too far, a great deal can go from wow to too good to be true and probably isn't real very quickly. If you can imagine your ads in the voice of a carnival barker or someone on an infomercial, then you might need to tone it down just a bit. Good ad copy is an art form, and it's worth putting some deliberate thought and craftsmanship into it. The last tip we have on ad copy relates to feeds. Remember that if you're using catalog data and feeds to drive your ads, any information you change in the catalog is going to come through in your ads and will need to adhere to rules like no all caps text. That's a common mistake that is fairly easy to correct but can cost you valuable clicks while you get it turned back around. Small mistakes can add up to big losses if you aren't careful.
Another bad pay-per-click move we see pretty often is going after broad keywords. Broad keywords might have more search volume and may even get you lots of clicks, but they're not likely to bring you enough conversions to be worth the cost. That's because broad keywords will catch all kinds of searches. There are many different reasons people search: to get quick answers, to learn in depth, to be entertained. What you want to look for in your keywords for e-commerce, especially your pay-per-click ones, is buyer intent, the words that signal that someone is in shopping mode. So take those broad keywords and add in some modifiers like buy, store, prices, how much, sizes and colors, specific product names, model numbers, and SKUs, and especially those red-hot words that relate to things like deals, coupons, and discounts, things that mean someone has already done their research and is probably ready to make a purchase now.
Another common search marketing mistake is overpaying for keywords and clicks. Just as you can easily waste money by choosing bad keywords, you can throw away even more by simply overpaying. The search ad marketplace operates as an auction, and costs fluctuate up and down based on the bids and activities of those participating. We do a lot of Google and Bing audits, and we see a lot of cases where companies are accidentally driving up their own keyword costs by using faulty and flawed bid strategies. Usually, what happens is this: they get into a moderate bid strategy and then a few more aggressive modifiers to help them push ahead of competitors in specific situations. That's all well and good until they make a small mistake and start competing against themselves. Then things just spiral from there. You need to start with a strategy that includes some boundaries around it and will not be just effective but profitable for your business. Then you need to periodically recheck your cost estimates and compare it to what you're actually spending, and make adjustments as needed. This will help keep your search engine marketing in line with your strategy and goals.
Another common bidding mistake we see is using maximize conversions automated bidding before quality conversions start coming in. It's a really easy mistake. Google makes it sound like you can turn this bid strategy on and they'll start magically getting you great traffic and sales. But it's not magic, it's data. You have to wait until you have some good examples in there for Google to use as the ideal model to base the optimization on. Otherwise, Google will base its model on bad traffic, and you'll struggle to get good results. The next big area your strategy should cover is social media. What are you doing on social networks, both organically and for advertising? First things first, you need to choose your platforms. It's a good idea to go ahead and create accounts on all social platforms that may be relevant to you, so you can ensure that you get the URL or the username that you might want. It's a quick and easy step you can take for your branding and competitive defense. You don't want someone else out there running around using your business name as their handle. You don't have to actually be active everywhere, but social profiles can basically act as a free search listing, and people do use in-platform search to look for things. So it's a good idea to at least set up a basic profile with your branding and a link to your store. Once your accounts are set up, then you need to decide where you're going to be the most active. There are a lot of options out there, but only a handful with significant audiences and really good business tools. Usually companies do best by choosing 1 to 4 platforms for their core organic social posting strategy. The key is to keep it manageable. Use tools like Buffer or Hootsuite or any of their competitors to streamline your workload and work ahead.
Which platforms you choose depends heavily on your target audience and the types of content you have to share. Your organic strategy should center on the places where your buyers spend the majority of their time and are most likely to interact with you, look you up, or stumble upon your content. E-commerce companies typically have a lot of images and video, which play well across the board, and open up options like Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube. B2C sellers often have great success on Facebook and Instagram, where customers hang out online. If you're targeting women, especially affluent millennial women, or DIY crafty instructional community, Pinterest can be fantastic for you.
B2B sellers may find that their best audience is on LinkedIn or even sometimes Twitter. A lot of B2B companies also do surprisingly well on Facebook and Instagram because the audience is just so big, and Facebook groups have become quite the phenomenon for creating closed communities. Groups are great for e-commerce community building. I'm in several of them myself as a customer for a huge range of different topics, and they're fantastic additions to the customer experience, both as a business user and as a B2C consumer. And that's exactly what you want from your organic social media strategy. You want to build your community and attract new people to it by sharing quality, relevant content and interacting with your followers. As far as posting goes, you should be active but not too overbearing. A couple posts daily or every other day is generally often enough for B2B. If you're selling consumable goods, you might want to lean a little closer to a B2C style strategy. If you're selling very B2B, industrial or durable goods, stuff way high up in the supply chain, or maybe some of those rarer once-in-a-while purchases, you can be more conservative.
Your paid strategy can be a little bit broader than your organic strategy because you're not waiting for people to find you. You're going after them directly. Even if you aren't very active on a platform, you can still use its ad tools to serve your content up to users and lead them back to your store. Even when the demographics and user selection tools aren't able to really zero in on your audience, like some B2B companies will experience with Facebook and Instagram, you can use retargeting and lookalike audiences to find the right user on those platforms. It's also very important to tailor your content and messaging to the social platforms you're using. One reason is just so that your content is formatted properly on the platform. Each social platform has its own requirements for copy lengths, image sizes, and more. If you're tagging partner accounts with @mentions or using hashtags, they might vary across different platforms as well. Not everyone is on the ball and claiming those consistent branded name accounts.
Tailoring your social content also extends past formatting and into the messaging itself. Consider who each platform's users are and the types of content they're seeing around your posts and ads, and the overall mode they might be in. A working parent might be all business when they're scrolling through their LinkedIn on lunch break, but more focused on kids and family life when they're checking their Instagram feed before bed. You can still reach them in both places, but you'll do better if you angle your post and ad messages appropriately. So say you have a product that saves people both time and money. Maybe run a revenue-focused message on LinkedIn during work hours and a time savings message on the gram in the evenings and over weekends. The user will get a wider range of messages from you and hopefully gain a better understanding of your value. Little thoughtful choices like this can make a huge difference in your success rates.
The last tip we have for evolving your social media marketing strategy is to utilize social shopping and lead generation tools. Facebook has the ability to integrate with your store and pull product data through its feed. You can also run all kinds of ads for your products on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also use their tools to feed your products into their sales platform, making Facebook and Instagram part of your marketplace selling strategy. It really is a robust tool set, and they're advancing all the time. If you checked it out a year or two ago and passed, you might want to give it another look.
Companies out there who maybe sell by custom quote or other non-transactional conversions can also leverage lead generation tools to capture leads right inside the social platforms. Costs for these ad types tend to be a little higher, especially over on LinkedIn, but they eliminate the potential for drop-offs and abandonment in the jump from social to your website. And that can really help boost your conversion rates. Your e-commerce strategy should also cover email marketing. Email was my first love in marketing. It's what brought me to Blayzer in 2013, and to this day, it's work that I still genuinely enjoy doing. I was fortunate enough to get my start in marketing doing product newsletters and sales process automation for a B2B company with an e-commerce store. Email and e-commerce are about as perfect a combination as it gets in marketing. In e-commerce, you have all that content and strong messaging potential, and in email, you have direct, targeted, and triggered delivery of your content and offers with a mountain of data to mine on the other side. They just fit together extraordinarily well. And I'm blown away by how far the technology around all of that has come. I won't go too deep into this now since Claire from dotdigital has a lot of great info on email coming up, but I really cannot stress enough how important email marketing is for an e-commerce strategy and just how much automation can do for your emails. It's a really easy way to raise your game in not just marketing, but the entire customer experience. And really, that's what all this marketing stuff is about anyway, making your customer experience appealing, enjoyable, and productive.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for listening and spending your time with us today. Julie and I look forward to answering your questions during our happy hour wrap-up session.
Welcome back. All right, that was Julie and Kate from Blayzer Commerce sharing a ton of great information for modernizing your e-commerce marketing strategy. If you have any questions for them or any of our speakers today, please send them over the webinar chat or email them to qa@midwestecommerceseminar.com, or you can use the hashtag MES2020. Our next speaker today is Claire from dotdigital. As Julie mentioned in the last presentation, email and e-commerce work together very well, especially with the right solutions and process behind it. So let's have a closer look and learn about some of the latest development strategies and email strategies from dotdigital.
Hi, my name is Claire. I'm one of the account managers here at dotdigital, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you today's presentation. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about dotdigital, who we are, what we stand for, but I'm also going to focus a little bit deeper into the data side of things. Now, I promise you, you will not be falling asleep, and I promise you that data can be sexy. Stay with me. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. So let's get started. So welcome. The future is now. Are you ready for it? So it's quite a provocative statement, really. And I guess have a think about how you feel about it. Are you comfortable, anxious, confused? What does it actually mean? I think at the moment, especially at this present time, I'm probably leaning more towards the anxious and confused side of things. But in my role at dotdigital, my role means that I work very closely with marketing, sales, and also the customer processes. So I see some really interesting behaviours firsthand. We know that it's very common, especially in our space, to hype up the next shiny bright thing, or for people to burn aspiration. And the reality is that not all of these aspirations get implemented. But from the data we know, we are at a bit of a fork in the road. One path leads to data-driven customer-first lifecycle marketing, and it gives you time back and increased returns. The other is a continuation of the more mundane tactics. Crucially, one path matches the expectations of customers, and the other leads to increasing disinterest, lowering the engagement. And this is why we're at a bit of a fork in the road. But the good news is The path of high returns is available to all of us if we just embrace it. That power is in all of us, and that is why the future really is now. But before I get stuck into the nitty-gritty and explain how data can be sexy, and like I said, I promise you it can be, and how you can utilize dotdigital to its full capabilities, here is just a few things about us. So whether you're a content marketer, growth marketer, or just an all-round kind of marketer, we know what you want and need to excel at your job. We've been building dotdigital engagement cloud for over 2 decades now, and our driving principles remain the same: to offer a powerful platform that empowers marketers and keeps things simple. We are committed to developing a customer engagement platform that lets you speak to your customers at the right time, on the right channel, with a message that will resonate. As we continue to introduce new channels to our stack, Engagement Cloud is becoming a one-stop source for marketers that want to set up intuitive omni-channel programs at a click of a button. So 20 years on, and our commitment to email has not waned. We're still here to help you send beautiful campaigns in a matter of minutes. To sum up some of our best loved features, we have a drag and drop easy editor, which puts you in the designer's seat, so minimum effort and maximum control. There's no more Mr. Nice to Have. We let you split test any part of your campaign, including that all-important subject line. We have features like send time optimization, which are perfect if you're a global business. So we help you think global and act local. We have platform capabilities, which offer you a multitude of ways to personalize your campaign content for one-to-one conversations at scale. And last but not least, did you know that adding channels into your campaign mix drives incremental ROI? So 5-channel campaigns outperform single channel ones by 35%. So here are just some of our trusted clients worldwide. Hopefully you recognize, I would like to say, at least 3 on there. So these are just displaying some of our US, UK, and also our Australian ones as well. So before we dive into sort of what it actually does, here's just a little bit of background to our commerce credentials. So we're one of Magento's named partners. We have over 700 Magento sites that use Engagement Cloud. It uses a single sign-on functionality, and we are also verified by Magento's dev team as well. We also integrate with Shopify Plus, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and also BigCommerce. So our platform, now named the Engagement Cloud, still has all of the features our customers know and love, but it has a bit of a user interface refresh as well. So we've introduced 3 main solution areas of connect, empower, and communicate, and this makes it easier for prospects to understand the power and scalability of our technology. So going back to this all-important question, what is the future? Do we mean artificial intelligence? Do we mean the voice, new channels? No. Challenge is that humans are adopting the technology as the tech is already there. So let's take cruise control. So I have cruise control on my car, but I don't really just rely on that. I'll set it when I'm on the highway, but I've still got my feet on the pedals, my hands on the steering wheel. Maybe Siri. Siri is capable of joining the dots. It sees you have a flight booked and suggests an early alarm, or that you put your phone on silent, not to be disturbed, or suggests you put it on flight mode at the time of the flight. But in both cases, the technology is there, but us as people just aren't ready for it. So looking under the hood of our AI, this is where product data enrichment comes into play. So our AI will help with tasks that are just simply too monotonous or arduous to take on. It will take the data which we pull through from your CRM, and it will look at all of the images in your product catalog. It will then, by using AI, enrich your data to give you more information about the images. So maybe the color, what it is, even the brand. And at which point you can use our segmentation tool to really hone in and target your audience. So this is the bit I absolutely love this stuff. So this is coming soon. So full power is still to be discovered and understood, but the evolution of the SMS, we've got, it's now moving more towards what we call RCS, so rich communication services. and it's simply just an evolution from the SMS. You can see from this little video, it's kind of like an app experience. So you've got carousels, you can pay for products, select seats and more, and it'll work on your native app on your phone. So it's fantastic potential for marketing and also customer experience. But I believe still that I think it will actually be available to US networks maybe towards the end of this year, possibly. So watch this space. So the other channel is WhatsApp. We have an example here from KLM. They've basically seen 1.5 billion users and want a piece of that. So who wouldn't? You don't need to worry about the people installing the app, marketing it, or user adoption or retention. The platform of WhatsApp is established already. So what happens is it delivers all flight information straight to WhatsApp, and a lot of businesses are going down that route now. There's WeChat in China, they're huge, and these large user bases are there to help improve your communications. So the future is now. Not a question this time, this is a statement. So those are a few examples of future now technology, apart from the RCS, but I think it is super close. But let's go back to those human challenges of adopting the technology. Is your business and our tactics ready for future forward thinking? Let's look at some of the common challenges. So in this year's marketer tracker, 38% of marketers say that data is a challenge for them. 42% say that budget and resource was a main challenge. And then the third was 25% say that strategy is an issue for them. But surely you can't have a strategy unless you have the data and vice versa, right? Who thinks that they have their data in order and all sorted? Just have a little bit of a think about that. So, like, I'm no math genius, but poor data plus poor strategy plus poor technology, basically, I haven't got the heck what I'm doing. So what is in your power to overcome those challenges to get to that fork in the road? So ask yourself the following. Is your technology up to scratch? Do you need to change platforms? Do you have the right strategy in place? If not, we are here. And are you utilising the right data to optimise both? Nail these elements, and I promise you, you'll be well on your way to transforming subscribers into lifelong advocates. So how do we go about doing this? We take the 5 phases of the e-commerce buying cycle, and you make the customer's life easier and maximise your engagement with them, but understanding fully just what to do at every stage. So what are the 5 stages? We've got data, so make sure you sync other data sources on all that important actionable data as well. We have insight to discover your hottest prospects, storing consent, segment using all of your customer insights. We have engage, so smart, relevant, omnichannel communications. Convert, look at that abandoned cart and abandoned browse, drive to a site for a purchase. Then we have that all-important retention, using all of the data that you store, and you want to send it at the right time in the right channel, and you want to track its success. So with data, we have the recency, frequency, and monetary model. So why do we need this? Somewhere to start and build your buckets of data to segment ultimately. So I hope I'm not teaching anyone how to suck eggs here, but recency, this is the date of the latest purchase made by a customer. We have frequency. This is the number of orders each customer placed with you up until today. And then we have the monetary, which is sums up the value of all of the orders placed by a customer. So that is our RFM model. So there's an Excel spreadsheet for those geeks out there. There's our lead scoring tools. You've got segments, and even using the automation, you can use all of those to help build this RFM model. You don't have to send within automations. Automations can be used for data flow and putting different data into different buckets. So we have 6 models. We have insight. So here we want to build rich profiles to understand customers. We want to discover your hottest prospects and segment using all of your customer insight. That's your AI and profiling. So customers are more likely to repeat their custom with a brand that makes it quick and easy for them to find what they're looking for. Perhaps they often replenish their order and would appreciate a bit of a nudge when the time's right. Connecting this data will really help you provide smart and relevant recommendations that delight customers. We have recognise, remember and recommend. So I'm going to steal my colleague's analogy here because I think it sums up why we're all here and why we all believe in AI. So just segmenting or using bestsellers for recommendations is like turning on more lights in an already well-lit room. Yes, it can be helpful in little corners, but overall you won't really reap the benefits. AI-powered product recommendations can turn on lights in rooms you didn't even know you had. So that's pretty awesome. And that is where you'll find the competitive edge over your competitors for one. But you'll also be able to deliver a tailored offering to your customers that they'll love you for, and they'll keep coming back again and again. For us, the innovation and then application of AI has been driven by our mission of empowering marketers, CRM managers and also tech teams, and to help them overcome their daily challenges. And those challenges are that they want to make more money and they want to know how to go about doing it. They want to know how to be more relevant and they want to know how they can keep up in the age of ultra personal. So by recognizing, remembering and recommending, it's likely you may get some amazing statistics. You may increase your revenue by 300%. You may increase your conversion rate by 150%. Perhaps you may increase your average order value by 50%. So we see time and time again that product recommendations are amongst the highest yielding tactic a marketer has. So these stats are entirely typical. So moving on to the next one, engage. So you want to make engagement great again. So you want to talk to customers on the channels that they use, smart, relevant, omnichannel communications, email, chat, SMS, you name it. So some simple examples here that send via multiple channels that's most relevant to the end user. These examples are very cool. We have Tom Raffield, their lighting and furniture designer, and what they've done is clues to reveal where they're going to be. The answer is Chelsea Flower Show in the UK. Then we have Nike or Nike, depending on where you're from. And this is more of like a kinetic style, which is pretty awesome. This is actually one that I promise you will never forget now that you've seen it. I promise you that gifts do work. This was actually sent out on Valentine's Day a couple of years ago, but it's stuck with all of us here at dotdigital. But if you do use a GIF, it probably means you've spent time thinking and optimizing your engagement strategy. But it's not all about the content. The DMA Consumer Tracker report told us that 47% regularly read the subject line and then delete the email. So that's a little bit of an issue if you're actually trying to get people to open your email. So do not leave the subject line to the last moment. I'll just leave that attention grabbing example up for you for a little bit longer. Moving on, so we have convert. So you want to deliver a better CX and increase ROI. So you want to be using your abandoned cart and browse and drive the recipient to your website for a purchase. So this really is all about great copywriting that's different and highly engaging, and that prompts a user to return and complete their purchase. So moving on to retention. Retention is all about loyalty, essentially, and using all the data that you store to send at the right time in the right channel, and you want to track its success. So loyal customers have a higher spend and are your most engaged audience. Here's a great example of it all coming together. It includes reviews, how was it, would you come back? It explains like months later for you to book again, and it kind of gives you a bit of a journey of your last 12 months. So here's a bit of a startling statistic, I think. So 47% of customers would switch to a competitor within a day of poor customer experience. I think that's actually pretty startling, if I'm honest with you. That's 47%. But so ending on that rather shocking statistic, I know that I've covered quite a bit here. So just to summarize, you want to capture your data and you want to build relevant segments so you can make sure you target your contacts correctly. You want to dive a bit deeper into the data. You want to recognize, remember, and recommend. You want to engage on all channels and make that impact. You want to be attention grabbing. And I know that you're all thinking back to that Larson Jennings animated GIF email. You want to make that transaction seamless, and retarget is required. And then lastly, you want to focus on reviews. You want to leverage the experience and get them to come back. I promise you the future really is now. And if there's one thing that I would like you to all remember from this presentation, it's to trust yourself to make it happen. There are plenty of ways to utilize your data to make it work harder for you, but the easiest options are personalize and segment. It is so easy. Thank you so much for sitting with me and going through this presentation. I really hope you found it useful and enjoyable, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this summit. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks to Claire and dotdigital for that great segment. Dotdigital will be on our QA session today, so please send your questions into the webinar chat or email them to qa@midwestecommerceseminar.com. Next on today's agenda, we have Meg from Trustpilot. Trust is the real leader in the space of user-generated content reviews and other tools for building trust within your community. Trust is very important in these days. Everyone is wary of scams and bad experiences. Luckily, Meg is here with a lot of great info about the power of user-generated content. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this Trustpilot portion of the Midwest E-commerce Summit, where we'll be focusing on the power of user-generated content. My name is Meg McCune. I'm a senior manager here on the customer success team at Trustpilot. I've been with Trustpilot for almost 3 years. And I'm really excited to be a part of this summit. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go through a little background on what Trustpilot's all about and how you can start using your user-generated content to drive success within your company. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Trustpilot, we are the world's most powerful review platform, and we are free and open to all. So what our overall goal is to bring people as well as businesses together to make a better experience for everyone when it comes to purchasing services or products online. And our overall mission is to be the universal symbol of trust, which in this world right now is probably more important than ever. Just some numbers regarding Trustpilot here. So we have 88 million reviews on the platform. We have over 380,000 businesses that have a profile with Trustpilot and on our site. We also have 7 offices around the globe. So this is not just in the US, it is actually a global platform and a global company. All right, so they say in business that trust is everything. And that's really what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about how you can build trust with your customers or potential customers for your business. So when we're talking about user-generated content, what we're really talking about is social proof that customers have created for you. Consumers are not just considering ads and features and benefits about your company that you're putting out there, but they're also considering social proof. And this is probably what most strongly builds trust and reinforces your company's messaging and claims. And when you put this user-generated content to work correctly, you can build a brand reputation and actually help increase conversions and sales. And that's the overall goal here, right? We want to build a successful company. So we'll talk through how we can help you out with that. So the trust that user-generated content can create is so important in today's online atmosphere because they do have so many choices. And let's face it, there are super high expectations out there for consumers as well. So social proof in this user-generated content is feedback that is coming from consumers. It's not coming from your company or from the brand itself, but it's messaging about your products and your services that's perceived as authentic and trustworthy. And that's because it's coming from their peers. And it's an endorsement for your company, not coming from you, but actually coming from others. If you think about it, it's basically the new word of mouth advertising that companies should be using to get word out there on their products and services. So in the first part of today's presentation, I'm going to dive into the impact of user-generated content and what it has on your brand's reputation or can have on your brand's reputation. Then the second part, I'll go into and cover how that user-generated content and the strong brand reputation that hopefully you've built up can be used to increase both sales and conversions. So let's start by talking through your brand's reputation, or company's reputations. I'm going to anchor a lot of this discussion around the brand reputation. That's based off of a survey that Trustpilot conducted last year. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this. So we surveyed 1,700 online shoppers from markets around the globe. So that's where we're pulling these numbers. So our research shows that 90% of online shoppers have chosen not to purchase from a company because of their bad reputation. So think about what that means for your company if you're not proactively managing your brand reputation right now. Customers are paying attention to your brand reputation. So if you're not doing that right now and you're not taking charge of that, it's certainly going to affect your business. One thing that we always will tell our partners when they're thinking about working with Trustpilot or when they're brand new to Trustpilot, we'll first ask them, do you know what is out there on your brand reputation? Do you know what reviews are saying or what user-generated content is saying about you? And if you don't, that is a huge miss. And one thing to keep in mind too is you don't need to have a perfect brand reputation out there. That's unrealistic, and that's not what consumers are looking for. And we'll touch upon this later in the presentation as well, but certainly need to know what is being said about your reputation. So let's talk through which factors impact trust for your brand. Our survey found that consumers care more about brand reputation than ever before. And I can imagine that in today's current climate, that these numbers have even increased significantly more. Again, this survey was from over a year ago. So just think of how things have changed in just the last 6 months here and how important reputation and user-generated content is now. So consumers are primarily influenced by information that they find online, and they're more likely to trust brands that have this mindset of being active and having recent online presence. They're being transparent about their approach to feedback and their willingness to share the feedback as well as their brand mission. So think about that as your brand and your company. Are you being transparent? Are you sharing that information? Are you sharing the feedback that you're getting? A lot of factors increase trust with a company. And as you can see a couple at the top here, those relate directly to user-generated content in the form of reviews. So over 93% of consumers said that a company having positive customer reviews increases trust in their brand. And of course, that makes sense, right? Also, important to point out here, 80% said that a company with a lot of reviews also increases their brand trust. So it's not just about the rating or if they're positive reviews, it's also how many reviews they're collecting. And again, we'll get into that more later, but you don't want to just have a few reviews. You need to consistently be collecting and have a high volume of them. Now, on the other hand, the top factors that result in the loss of trust is when consumers are aware or they think that a company is deleting negative customer reviews or comments. So it's that lack of transparency that's playing a big factor here. Also affecting consumers, I think this is pretty interesting, affecting consumers' trust is if a company has negative reviews or, more importantly, maybe no reviews at all. So again, think about your brand, think about what reviews are out there. If you don't have any reviews on your company, you're not actively seeking those out, that's certainly going to be affecting how consumers are perceiving your brand. All right, so let's talk through building customer confidence across the new shopping journey. So as you're trying to gain these new customers, where should you be building that trust and confidence? So our research shows that over 93% of consumers say that they rely on reviews to research an unfamiliar brand. And just think of yourself put yourself in the consumer's shoes, or think of yourself as a shopper. Of course, you're always going out there and looking for reviews. And actually, there was Google research that came out that showed 42% of even in-store customers also are conducting research online when they're in the store. So think about that. Consumers have this information, this power right at their fingertips, anywhere at any time to find out what a brand's reputation is. And that's because of access to computers and phones. So again, you need to consider this and realize that customers have that access and they're using it. And it's very easy to find that. So we need to make sure that you're staying on top of that and you're really controlling what's out there. All right, so this quote here and the data below it shows the importance of the quantity and the recency of reviews. So this consumer mentioned that the more reviews and input, the more I can gauge whether the product is worth buying. It all boils down to the variety with the reviews. And the numbers here, the research shows that 55% of consumers would prefer to buy a product with a high number of reviews and an average rating versus a product with a small number of reviews with an excellent rating. So again, going back to that idea of power in numbers, you don't want to stop collecting reviews when you feel like, okay, we've gotten a few great ones, let's go ahead and put that out there. It's just conveying to the consumer that perhaps the company is cherry picking, or perhaps they don't care about collecting recent reviews. You want to be sure that you're consistently collecting reviews. Don't just stop because you think you have enough. You always want to be collecting, and these numbers right here in this quote proves that. So the trust that you can build with user-generated content should be seen as a form of actual currency because there is measurable dollar value here. 83% of consumers said that they're willing to pay more for a product that has better reviews over one that has no reviews. So put those reviews that you're collecting to work and help your company gain more money. You can actually be charging more money for products that you have these reviews on. And if you don't have reviews for some of the products you're selling or any of the products that you're selling, you're missing out on dollars there. Okay, so let's talk about specific actionable steps that you can take and you should be taking to improve your brand reputation with your user-generated content. So the first one here, respond to negative user-generated content. This is one of the most important best practices that we relay to our new partners. When it comes to negative reviews, everyone is going to receive negative feedback, negative user-generated content, negative reviews at some point. It's inevitable, and that's okay. What matters is how you're handling them. So you want to be responding, and this shows to the customer as well as future customers that you care about what's being said and that you want to resolve this. It actually gives you a great forum to resolve the issue, let them know they can reach out to your customer support line, and just show to future customers that, hey, yeah, we really care, we're taking care of this. Responding to negative and even positive user-generated content is a best practice that we tell all of our customers, so don't just respond to the negative ones. Again, it's showing your customers that you're actually listening and that you want to help, and that you care what they're saying. They took the time to leave the review or leave the comment, so you should take the time to read it and respond to that. And whatever you do not delete or try to hide or even manipulate the negative user-generated content that you are receiving. Consumers are savvier than ever. They're going to figure this out. Who's to say they're not going to find another platform where they can just leave the same feedback and even mention that feedback was deleted or changed. One survey that we conducted, we found that deleting reviews can decrease customers' trust by 95%. So whatever you do not delete it. It's okay that it's out there. We have some best practices on how you can handle that and how to respond to it. I think these numbers are important too, because if a customer is satisfied with how the company responds and handles this and maybe how they turn it around, you also can in return turn around that customer. They may become a repeat customer. They may even go in and edit or delete that negative review or feedback that they left for you. And they may even promote your company and tell others about you. So the main goal here in responding is to turn that negative experience into a positive one that can help with future business. So it's worth putting in the time and effort to turning that customer around. Okay, so let's run through some of these tips on how you want to respond to the negative reviews that you're receiving. And again, like I said, it's inevitable. Every company is going to receive negative feedback at some point. Not everyone's perfect. And even if you are perfect, not every consumer has the best experience. So do not ignore the customer's negative experience. Go ahead and address it head on. Just put it right out there in your response. One important thing also, keep your ego out of it and approach the problem with a positive mindset. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but you really want to keep this professional. You want to keep it positive. You do not want to get into an argument with your response here. And the next point here, apologize and provide a solution. Even if you feel maybe you're not in the wrong, it's important to apologize and provide that solution. Again, future consumers are also going to see this response, and they're going to see that you're a company that really cares and provides solutions when mistakes are made. And the last point here, do not promise what you can't deliver on, because again, it's not going to, who's to say they can't just find another forum to leave another negative review. The main goal is to turn this customer around and turn the negative experience into a positive one. One point we don't have on here, one tip we don't have on here, but we always recommend to our partners is to leave contact information. So whether it's a phone number or it's an email address or even just a link where they can click into to get to your customer support chat options, you want to have that in the response here so that they can contact you And even future consumers who maybe have a question can reach out to you as well. I hope those help you out with responding to the negative reviews. Now, another and maybe the most important step that you should be taking to improve your brand reputation is by monitoring what your customers are saying and actually taking it to heart. Reviews and customer feedback can really allow you to gain insight into your customers' opinions and their perspectives, and really what their needs and wants are that you and your team maybe haven't thought of. So use that feedback that they are giving to you to improve experiences for future customers. You really can innovate what your offerings are and overall just improve your brand and your company. We actually have some customers that have done this. We have a tool that helps to analyze what the feedback is, and they had found that a lot of the negative reviews were mentioning shipping. So they found that they had to go with a new shipping provider to make sure that their customers were having a better experience. And in another situation, they were finding that at point of checkout, there was an error taking place. And had that not been provided in the customer feedback they were receiving, they may have never caught that issue, or it would have taken a much longer time. So you really want to have a dedicated team member or a dedicated team that's monitoring this and going through it, probably the same team that's going to respond to the reviews as well. So just keep that in mind. We oftentimes will have companies that have collected thousands of reviews and they're not doing anything with it. They're not making the necessary improvements they need. And you're putting in all this hard work. You should make sure you're using it to improve your business. Okay, so we've covered the user-generated content and brand reputation. So let's move on to part 2 and talk about how you can now put that user-generated content and the brand reputation that you've built up to work and help you see an increase in conversions. So again, I want to discuss some findings that we found from another survey that Trustpilot conducted with online shoppers. So that's what I'll be referring to in this portion of the presentation. So an average of 66% of consumers said that the presence of social proof increased their likelihood to purchase a product. So that is beyond half of consumers saying that this social proof helped them to just go ahead and click that purchase or click that checkout button. So why would you not be putting social proof to work? And in the eyes of shoppers, certain trust signals mean more than others. And you can see here, positive star ratings and reviews are the most important trust symbol, with 82% of consumers saying that it made them more likely to make the purchase. So you've collected the reviews, you've built up this great brand reputation. Maybe you have a 4.5-star rating. Go ahead and show that off. Make sure you're putting it to work. So let's actually talk through where you should be displaying these trust signals. They can work differently at different stages of the purchase funnel. So we'll just talk through and cover where you should be placing these and where they're most effective. From these numbers on the chart here, we can see how different types of trust signals increase a consumer's likelihood to buy. And I've pointed out those that are specifically reviews and user-generated content focused. So the top 3 relate to the star ratings and reviews and have a big impact across many of the key points of conversions. So not just in one area. You want to get these reviews and these ratings from the top of the funnel, like in paid ads, all the way through to the bottom of the funnel. So in your shopping cart or at point of checkout or anywhere on site where you're calling for a call to action. On site, in ads, social media posts, you want to have reviews and your star rating throughout all of those. And no matter the industry, all marketing efforts seem to work better when they feature trust signals. So why wouldn't you use them in your marketing efforts if it's going to help improve them? You can see here reviews and ratings are the most impactful when consumers are comparing and researching two different brands. And I think that's super important here. Of course, consumers are going to be comparing you to your competitors. So you want to make sure you're standing out. You have your star rating out there for them. You're showing off these awesome reviews and user-generated content that you've collected so that you can beat out your competitors. And I think, it's really the main goal. So it's probably worthwhile also looking at what your competitors have. Make sure that you're staying on top of it and you're doing a better job than them. So how can we put this knowledge to work in your buying funnel? So the first step is collecting the user-generated content in a totally transparent way. And we talked about that earlier, right? Do not hide the feedback. Do not manipulate it. Do not edit it. Consumers are going to figure that out. And I would say the best way to do this, to make sure that you're being completely transparent, is to do it through a third-party trusted platform. So you don't want to just be collecting feedback internally through email and then copying and pasting it onto your site. How is a consumer to know where that came from, and how are they to trust that? So start placing the user-generated content throughout the buying funnel. So on Instagram posts, on site at checkout, in shopping cart abandonment emails even. So trying to win those customers back. Don't just stop on site. Don't just stop on your homepage. We've seen partners who included included Trustpilot reviews and their star rating in their shopping cart abandonment emails, and they saw a significant increase in their click-through rate just by adding those reviews. So really important to do that. I always say to our partners, put this free content to work for you. Again, most important word in there, it's free. These customers are providing you the content. So you should certainly be using that. And just make sure that you're collecting it in a consistent way, and make sure it is good quality content that you're putting out there. So recent and relevant content. And here's some great examples of testimonials used at the top of funnel in social media posts and social media ads. So some of our partners' examples here, which I think are really great. And here are examples of mid-funnel. So reviews can actually power stars in both paid ads as well as organic search results for products. So both Google seller ratings as well as product listing ads, you can get those stars appearing through reviews. So if you aren't familiar with this, certainly something that you want to look into. For those of you that are familiar with these, you all know that those stars will help increase click-through rates. So certainly want to put them to work for you. And then here's an example of reviews being used at point of checkout. So more so at the bottom of the purchase funnel here. And like I had said earlier, they really can be used anywhere that there's a call to action on your site. It just is giving the consumer, the potential customer, the reassurance from that user-generated content that, hey, look what others are saying. Look at how great of a company we are according to our past customers. So it's not you doing the work, it's your past customers doing it for you. Certainly an important place to have it. And then to wrap it up here, here are some of our favorite ways that our partners have added their user-generated content in the form of reviews in all different channels, which I think they look really great. And these partners have listened to us when we said, hey, put that free content to work for you, which is always great to see. And that about wraps it up I really appreciate you all joining. If you do have any follow-up questions, you can visit our Trustpilot site and you can reach out to us there. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have or share more information on Trustpilot. But thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Wow. Big thanks to Meg and Trustpilot. That was a great presentation. If you missed something or want to go back and rewatch any of our sessions, we have recordings from all 3 days up on the web. Today's recording will be added shortly after the program comes to a close. Speaking of coming to a close, it's now time for the last segment of the 2020 inaugural Midwest e-commerce seminar event. We hope you've all enjoyed it and picked up some good information. We hopefully will be back next year in person. Either way, it's going to be go down or kick off, get the date right, September 23rd, 2021. That's right, next year, September 23rd, 2021 in St. Louis, Missouri. So mark your calendars now and watch out for more details as the event develops. Now, on to our final presenter, Mark from Glew. Mark is here to talk to you about your e-commerce web and marketing analytics and how you can effectively put the data to work for your business. Take it away, Mark.
Hello, my name is Mark Miano. I am the Executive Vice President of Sales here at Glew.io, the most widely used e-commerce and multi-channel analytics and reporting company. And welcome to the Midwest E-commerce Summit 2020. Today, in Glew's portion of this webinar series, we're going to be talking about where to begin when monetizing your data. It is so important not just to run analysis for the sake of running it because your boss told you to, right? But to understand how you're performing in order to identify where you can improve, as well as identifying what to stop doing that's losing you money, right? It's just common practice, of course, in every area of your life, especially business, to understand what's happened in the past and figuring out how to prepare for the future. What is the problem that we're going to be facing or solving in the next 15 to 20 minutes? Well, the problem is that big or small e-commerce businesses operate with many more applications relative to other industries, or many other softwares than other industries. For example, think of your local food truck, okay? Maybe at a festival or a brewery or something. That food truck, I'm sure, works really hard, but has a very simple business on the finances side. There's money there's money coming in, and there's sandwiches going out. Super simple, really easy, a one-dimensional type transaction. But when you're an e-commerce company, it's not that simple, right? You got your finances, which are all over the place, maybe your revenues in Shopify and your cost of goods sold in a spreadsheet, and your advertising spend is in the Facebook API, just a headache. Or you have Google Analytics, right, with all the customer data. Looking underneath the hood of a Google Analytics account isn't exactly the funnest thing to do in the world with all that data crammed in there without being able to make sense of it. You got email systems, loyalty programs, ERPs. I mean, there's just a lot going on. That's overwhelming, and here at Glew, we're here to reduce that friction between you and the understanding of the performance of your business and the improvement of that business. The next layer to this understanding is your experience every day. You cannot analyze your data in what I call a tabbed out world, okay? You know this. You wake up in the morning and you open up your Shopify tab, or your Bright Pearl tab, or your Google Analytics tab, or whatever, and you're jumping from tab to tab trying to understand how the business is performing. The problem is that each of these tabs has barriers between you and that performance measurement. One of those barriers is the fact that they're providing fragmented visualizations or representations of your business. So if I look in Shopify, I can see revenue over time, right? Or if I look in Google Analytics, I can see visits over time. And if I look in Klaviyo, I can see clicks over time. but those are two-dimensional depictions of your world, right? Not to go down the rabbit hole here, but we're not selling things in a two-dimensional world, right? Your stick figures your customers are not stick figures on a piece of paper. They're three-dimensional people operating in a three-dimensional world. So what I'm trying to convey here is that if you really want to understand the performance of your business, you cannot look at each of these disparate sources on their own. We have to incorporate all of that into your analysis at once. Another way of trying to explain this is the use of the sources, okay? So, for example, you don't wake up and then turn on Google Analytics at 7 a.m., analyze what's going on, and then shut it down at 8 p.m., and then turn on Shopify at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. and let that run till 9 and then analyze your performance and shut it down. No, all of these sources are always operating, right? They're all highly available and they're all pulling information into your business at once as your business is operating. So we have to analyze your data in the same way that we're using it, which is all at once. And that's a really abstract way of thinking of it, but let's go ahead and take that abstract thought and drive it down into reality. A good example is return on ad spend, okay? Usually without something like Glew, you're running return on ad spend analysis in the inappropriate way, which is in a tabbed out world. You might have return on ad spend in Google Analytics or return on ad spend in your Facebook tab or your return on ad spend in Klaviyo or whatever you're using. And that's just not the way to do it for so many reasons. The first reason is that each one of these tabs will provide you a revenue number. But those revenue numbers are not consistent across the tabs. They're all measuring and grading how well that advertising system is performing in their own unique way to make themselves look as good as possible to you, so you're encouraged to spend more advertising money with them. For example, if you were to run a return on ad spend in your Facebook tab, your revenue would be coming out of the Facebook API and your ad spend would be coming out of the Facebook API. But Facebook's revenue is measured in a 1-day view, 28-day click attribution model, meaning they're taking advantage or taking credit of any sale that you've locked down as long as the customer has seen the ad within the past 24 hours and bought, or clicked on the ad in the past 28 days and bought. It's a very large and generous attribution model. Whereas let's say Google Analytics or Google AdWords uses a last click attribution model, where they only take credit for the revenue from orders where a AdWords or AdWords campaign was clicked right before that order. Right? A less generous attribution model than, let's say, Facebook. On top of that, you might have currency issues, right? Maybe you're selling across the world and you have your revenue in pounds and your ad spend in dollars, or time zone differences. It's just not so easy. The reality is that your revenue, the true level of your revenue, is coming and living in, let's say, your e-commerce cart. And your true ad spend is living in the ad spend system itself. So the challenge that you can't do on your own is actually running the appropriate metric congruently across the board, across all your channels at once. And only then would a return on ad spend calculation actually be meaningful. So all I'm trying to convey here, guys, is that when you're running your analytics, you have to use all of these different data sources at once, not in a tabbed out world, but at once in these equations. Very challenging. Let's pretend for a moment that you didn't have Glew, okay? Well, you would have to spend probably, I'm not kidding, a $500,000 on this slide, okay? Each one of these 6 steps represents an important piece of getting the data out of the API of wherever it's living, right? Shopify, Facebook, Klaviyo, wherever, and pulling insights out of it. If you didn't have Glew, you buy a software for each one of these 6 steps, probably $10,000 to $50,000 each. And then you'd have to hire a team of people who knew what they were doing in order to actually develop those softwares together. And then you'd have to maintain that stack over time, which is even more expensive. as things break and change and, life moves on. You're not going to have to worry about this slide. You have Glew. In a nutshell, we are a specialty system devoted to one industry, which allows us to align all 6 of these steps in a turnkey subscription so that we don't even have to get a gray hair worrying all about all that mess. Here's a good representation of these 6 steps right here, right? But just in a visual. We're an intelligent data warehouse. I'm trying not to go through the technical today. But all you're going to do is type in the usernames and passwords of all the sources that you're using. Not all of our sources are represented here, by the way. We have hundreds. Bright Pearl, I know, is on this webinar series being one of our favorite. But Shopify, Magento, Klaviyo, MailChimp, whatever. As long as there's an open API, we're good. And then we'll deliver you your insights back in a way that's most meaningful and cost-effective for you. Very easy. But let's actually get to the point here. Today is talking about providing you a roadmap or a playbook on how to attack your data, because with all of these different sources flying around, it's just important to understand how to prioritize where to begin and where to end. What you first want to do is understand profit and loss. That might sound straightforward, but it's very difficult to measure profit and loss in this space, which we'll automatically do for you. The second thing after we understand profit and loss is we're going to want to concentrate on the customer. We want to know who these people are, why they like buying from you, and all that good stuff we'll cover in detail. And the third thing is optimizing the use of physical capital, right? Just because we have the best customer and we're upselling them doesn't mean that we can't pull more profit out of the business. Or it also doesn't mean that we're not losing money. Or it also there's more to business than just the customer, right? As we all know, we got to operate the business. Profit and loss. Look, if you want to maximize it, you have to measure it. Sounds almost insulting to say out loud, right? But that's the truth. Except it's very difficult to do this in e-commerce. We just explored that a little bit with return on ad spend. Your ad spend, which is a big part of your business, is living in many different APIs. They might be in many different currencies, right? And they might be all updating at a different time frame. You have cost of goods sold, which is probably constantly fluctuating, especially during this environment with coronavirus. Maybe your prices used to be your costs used to be super low, and now you can't sell in China, and you got to resource. It's not that easy. You have salaries, you got overhead. All of these different parts of your business from a financial side are living in many different places, and Glew is going to make sure we bring it all in one place and take care of it. You're also going to want to understand what's making you money and what's losing you money, right? Oh, look, looks like on Tuesdays in December are most profitable for me on Facebook. Maybe I should go investigate why Tuesdays are profitable for you on Facebook so you can learn from it and monetize that new insight. Where in reverse, I'm just pulling these out of the air, right? Maybe I saw that I lost a ton of money in my UK Shopify store in the past few weeks. The ability to understand at the highest level and the lowest level what is and is not making you money is the very starting point, probably the most important part of your entire analysis. Now, may I recommend starting at what I call the enterprise level, just in totality across your entire business. How'd you do? I'm not going to explain that anymore. Then you got your revenue channel level, right? I might got many D2C sites. I got a wholesale business. I might have marketplaces like Amazon. I might have a POS system. I want to understand on that level what strategies might be working or not working for me as well. You then have your ad channel level. What's actually working for me when monetizing and getting a return on investment for all the advertised money I'm placing into each one of these different revenue channels? Got a Facebook strategy. I might have an agency. I might have an email strategy, organic. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on there. A lot of attribution modeling speak that we are experts in. And then, in my opinion, we have the most important one of all, which is the customer level. That is probably the most complex and important level of profit and loss analysis, is getting this down to a customer level, right? Which is the customer lifetime value minus customer acquisition costs. Your customer lifetime value is the amount of money that someone's going to spend with you until they die. Okay, there's different ways to calculate it that I can share with you here at Glew. There's really one main way, but we can get into that later. You then have your customer acquisition cost, which is your new customers acquired in a time period divided by the ad spend for that time period through a specific attribution model. But my point is that if you truly want to understand how to impact your business, you got to boil this away to a customer level, which is not easy. None of this is easy, but that one's probably the toughest. Now's the fun part. Everyone wants to jump to this slide, but now we finally can, which is finding, understanding, and retaining the right customer. Okay. Where this begins is segmentation. And let me give you an example. I always give this example. I'm not sure it's the best one, but let's say I'm a bikini vendor. All right. Well, at the highest level, as a bikini vendor, I want to understand my best customers. And I'm probably going to assume those best customers are women who live near the water, right? As opposed to men who live in Kansas. I mean, overall, that'd probably be an important thing to understand if you're selling women's bikinis, right? But what about within the bikini world, right? We have bikinis for different sizes of women. We have bikinis for maybe different cultures of women, for different women who live in different areas of the country. Even within something as specific as a bikini, you can still treat different people differently and understand their different characteristics and correlate those characteristics with the best customer for you to serve and make the most money with. That's called customer segmentation. Everyone always wants to jump to automations when they hear that, but that's a fallacy. Customer segmentation has been around a lot longer than automations like Klaviyo, etc., and its origins are in analysis. Here's a couple of examples of how you might want to attack it. If you're the NFL, just a couple examples thrown out there. You might want to analyze and segment your customers by where they live, right? Obviously, because their markets are dispersed geographically. From a clothing company, maybe they do it by age. Maybe older people like certain clothes than younger people, or they like me and my style more than younger people, or vice versa. If you're a makeup company, maybe you're segmenting out your customers by the number of purchases they've made with you. Loyalty. There's a gajillion ways to go about this, but however you want to do it, you're going to want to take your customers and rank these customers by the lifetime value that they've provided you over the months or years or however long you've been in business. After we've done this, right? Like let's say I'm the NFL and I see that people in North Carolina, for some reason or the other, spend more money with me than people in Dallas. Well, what we can then do immediately is understand what characteristics these super high paying customers share, right? What channels and campaigns first converted them? Where do they live? Do they live in the city? Do they live in a rural area? What products and services do they buy from you the most? What are their tastes? The least? What's their average order value? Did they buy from you all at once or a little bit at a time? What's the average distance between their repeat purchases, right? What's the optimal upsell window? That's unique to every business. What time of year did you acquire them? Was it in the winter? Are you a gift company? That's really important to your strategy. Do they know that they're one of your best customers? If I tapped them on the shoulder and said, hey, do you know if you're a VIP customer of Mr. Merchant over here? Would they be able to communicate back to me that they are because you've communicated to them that they are and you make it worth their while? There's a lot to unpack, and you're sitting on a goldmine, guys, of information. And it's just about understanding how to attack it and putting it in the right report or visualization and maybe having the right person walk you through it so you can quickly get to the good stuff, which is profit. Of course, we're going to want to do the inverse as well, which is understanding what the worst customers share, right? What characteristics the worst customers share. But that, of course, probably will be secondary of an exercise to the characteristics that the best customers share. The third part of your analysis should definitely be the optimization and use of your physical capital, operational data. Every company, I don't care if you're Walmart or Joe Schmo who just launched his t-shirt shop out of the back of his truck, every company has a finite set of capital to operate. So it's important that we leverage that capital to its fullest potential from a profitability standpoint. A couple of things to understand. Sell-through rates, holding costs, inventory velocity, depletion days. These are important metrics. Sell-through rates, that's the amount that you sold in a given time period divided by the amount that you had on hand in the given time period. Very tough to measure. That should be 100%. That means the last widget that you had in the warehouse was the last widget in demand by a customer. Okay? Holding costs. You don't want to lock up your capital and stuff no one wants. You got to track those. If you make a bad order and buy a bunch of bikinis that no woman ever wants to wear in public, well, you just locked up and lost all that money, and you can't turn it into cash to pay for advertising or hire a new employee or get Glew or Bright Pearl or whatever. Inventory velocity, that's the amount of units you sell per day. That's insanely important. It's a signal of demand and will impact your ordering and the use of all that cash and physical capital. When you're able to master these metrics, what you're then able to do is associate the right product with the right customer. You got to manage your opportunity cost, right? Opportunity cost is what you can't do as a result of making an action. Okay? We move forward in time. We can never go back and make a decision again. Okay? That's the nature of being in the world we are. You make a decision, that decision's made. Now you have another decision tree to make in front of you. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have two customers. I have one that loves spending tons of money with me, and I have one that just wants to buy at a discount. He only buys at discounts, okay? And let's say Mr. Moneybags over here has $200 and Mr. Discounter has $100. You're selling clothes, you're selling bikinis or bathing suits, and both of them walk into your store. There's products that are super high in cost, products that are discounted, etc. The worst thing that can happen to you is that the full price Mr. Moneybag customer takes that $200 and sees that there's a discounted product for $50, sees there's another product for $200, and he takes his money and he spends it on the $50 product. You just lost $150 that you could have made from Mr. Moneybags, and you also lost the $50 you could have made from Mr. Discounter, all because that full price customer bought the discounted product and not the full price product. That's a double whammy in the wrong direction, right? That's called opportunity cost. You want to match up the premium product with the guy who has the money and the discounted product with the one who can only afford a small purchase. That is complex to do, but that is at the end of the day where you're going in order to maximize profitability, right? So in summary, the cost of technology used to be the biggest hurdle. That's no longer. You got Glew. If you want to maximize your profits, you have to measure them. So start immediately. Don't wait around. Find the right customers and keep them. Optimize the use of physical capital along the way. And manage that opportunity cost. It's definitely your toughest project. But if you have the right planning and the right data, it ought to be super simple. Thank you for your time, everyone. I hope you have a great day at the Midwest E-commerce Summit. It's an honor to be here, and I hope to see you around when it comes to crunching your numbers.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you to dotdigital, Trustpilot, Glew, and my team here at Blayzer Commerce. And thank you to all of you in the attendance for joining us today and throughout this series. Now is the time to send in your final questions and other inquiries to qa@midwestecommerceseminar.com. You can hit us up in the webinar chat or use the social media hashtag MES2020. While we gather up your questions, let's have our one final toast to everybody in the audience and the panel. Each of our partners has shared a signature cocktail recipe with you to spice up our Q&A session, so let's take a look.